Thanks everybody for joining us this evening on the first of 4 webinars that we're going to be doing around digital marketing. And my name is Amy Thompson. I am the CEO of Creative Allies, which is a marketing company in Raleigh, North Carolina. And my co-presenter today is going to be Stephanie Caudle, which you should see on the screen as well. And Stephanie is a marketing and communications expert, also an entrepreneur. And both of us have worked together for quite a while and have done several of these webinars. And both of us have a passion for really helping other small business owners and entrepreneurs. And, you know, these training sessions that we're going to host are really just to provide you with free tips and tricks that you can use and hopefully apply right away. And today we're going to talk about websites. And of course, websites can be really interesting, but this is a great quote that I found. Designing a website can be a little bit like being a kid in a sweet shop. And that is absolutely true. One of the great things about a website is you can create whatever you want. And then one of the bad things is that you can create whatever you want. You have so many options on how many pages you can have, what your colors are, what kind of images you can add, whether you do video or not. And so you can get carried away, just like it says in this quote. It is easy to get carried away. And the key is really determining what you want, try to keep it simple, especially for us that are small business owners and entrepreneurs. Try to keep it as simple as possible and really focused more on your client versus focus on everything that you can do with your site. And so what we're going to talk about today, unfortunately, most people's websites are not good. And so, you know, we say that they kind of suck. And so what we want to do is share tips with you of how you can, if you have a site already, what you can do to improve your site. If you don't have a site and you're thinking about creating one, what kinds of things you need to keep in mind before you do that. But what we're going to cover in this webinar today are the key website considerations. Again, you may already have a website. If you do, that's great. A lot of people actually don't, so it's really good if you do. But what you want to do is make sure your website is effective, that it is the right size, the right style, the right content for your audience. Most of us that are in business, your website should serve one purpose, that's to inform and also though to generate leads, right? So you want your clients or your potential clients to come there and be informed, but you also, obviously, if you run a business, you want to make money. So you want to generate leads that hopefully turn into business for you. So the 3 things that we'll talk about today are user experience, visual content, and written content. And we felt like if you can master those 3 things for your site, you'll be in really good shape and you'll probably be very far ahead of most other people. So this is what we're going to cover in this session. I'm going to talk about user experience, and then Stephanie's going to talk about visual content and written content for your site. So the user experience, I love to talk about kind of navigation and this map as a representation of that, right? Because when you have a website, it's really the same as trying to, let's say, go to the store. Unfortunately, we're not doing that as much now, but let's say you were going to a store, and let's say you were going to a store in a place that you hadn't been before, right? Somebody's got to give you directions to get there. Pretend you don't have your phone or GPS or something like that, and they have to verbally give you directions on what landmarks you'll pass, you know, how many stoplights you're going to pass, things like that. But it's about navigation. You're trying to get from point A to point B so that you can meet your objective, which is going to the store. Website is really the same. You're trying to get from point A to point B, and you have to do a really good job of helping the user navigate. And so when you hear people talk about navigation on a website, it really is about where do you want that visitor to go? Most people may start at a home page, right? But where do you want them to go next? You may have 5 or 6 different pages on your website. How do you get them to go to exactly where you want them to go? And so it's really identifying what that navigation is, what that quote unquote map looks like. And you want to take them every step of the way and really guide them across that journey. A lot of times you may hear the phrase customer journey, but it really is about navigation and how you get someone from point A to point B. That's something that may sound complicated, but it's actually quite easy when you think about who your audience is and what you want them to do when they're on your site and what you want them to achieve when they're on your site. And so that's what the navigation is about, and that's going to help you with your user experience or with the visitor's user experience. The second point, one of my favorites, it's not about you. And that is pretty counterintuitive if you are a business person and you say, well, I'm creating a website for my company. Then logically, it should be about me. It should be about my services. It should be about how great I am. It should be, who I've worked with and all of these things. And it really should be exactly the opposite. Your website shouldn't be, in a sense, about you at all. It should be about what you can do for the user. It should be about what you've done for other customers. It's about what you can teach people, how you can help people. And when you have that mindset of turning everything around to the visitor and to the customer, it will make a huge difference in how you talk to your potential customers. It will make a huge difference in how you talk about your company. But the key to remember is that it's not about you at all. No one wants to listen to somebody just me all day long. No one wants to hear that. It's not, if I'm somebody who's looking for, let's say, a plumber, because that means something's wrong with my toilet, right? And I don't want to sit here and listen to you talk about you. I want you to tell me how you're going to fix it, right? Because I have a problem and I need somebody to fix it. So the second thing to remember after the navigation is really, it's not about you. And so what am I going to put on my site? Images, video, content. What am I going to have that really is for my visitors? And then the last thing for the user experience are clear calls to action. This really goes hand in hand a bit with the navigation. It's about telling the visitor what you want them to do and where you want them to go. But that what you want them to do part is the call to action. And so do you want them to give you their email address? Do you want them to read one of the blogs? Do you want them to visit your social media, right? Giving them clear instructions on what you want them to do. And it's not that people are stupid and they can't figure things out, but why would you want to make them work hard to do business with you? That's the key thing. You want to keep it very simple and keep it very easy so that people can find the information they need, right? The navigation. They can learn about what you do in relation to how it helps them. And then they can clearly see where you want them to click or what you want them to fill out. And those are the three key things to help create a really good user experience, a positive user experience for your visitors when they come to your website. Okay. And now I'm going to turn it over in a second, but one of these things, good quote here, a rule of thumb, more options, more problems. It makes me think of, Biggie Smalls and Puffy, more money, more problems. And it's really true, right? The more options, not just you as a business owner, the more options you have, the more problems, but the more options your customer has, the more problems. If you give somebody the choice of 5 different things, they're likely to choose nothing. If you give them a choice of 2 things or 3 things, they're going to choose something. So that's, when we say choices, that's number of pages, the number of places they need to click, all of that stuff. So keep it very, very simple so that people can easily and quickly make a decision. Okay. And now I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, and she's going to talk about visual content.
I think people need to remember too is that a pretty website does not always equate to an effective website. And it's really important that you know that. So many people come to us and say, hey, I want a website that looks like this because it's so pretty and it has lots of flash. And just a friendly reminder, if you have an idea for a website and you want to use flash, don't. Because Google is going to ping you, and then in turn, your website is not going to rank online. So stay away from flash. And then also, I think we as entrepreneurs and business owners, we get so caught up in creating this sort of brand image. So the perfect colors, things that really don't matter when it comes to a website. Like I think colors matter, but I also think you have to be very careful not to get so caught up in the look of the website that you lose the importance of the information that you need to be providing. Because again, like Amy said, it's not about what you like, it's about what your customer needs to be able to have their problem solved. So take off your brain as an entrepreneur because we do tend to overthink things, and just in turn, reflect on what you would want if you were the customer, not what you would want personally, if that makes sense. So image quality is super important. Again, so many people come to us oftentimes saying like, hey, I want this great website and I want it to look exactly like this. But then when they give us the photos, they don't quite equate to the same quality as the website they're showing us. And so photos really do matter. And when I say quality photos, I mean high definition photos. Now you may be saying, Stephanie, I don't have high definition photos. Well, that's fine. There are amazing websites out there that are available for you for free. I am a firm advocate of free.com. I hate spending money on unnecessary things. And so there's one website that I use a lot personally called unsplash.com. And at the end of this presentation, Amy will actually be able to provide you guys with some more resources out there for other free photos for you to be able to use. Well, one thing we also want you guys to be very cautious of is these days, so many people just go straight to Google when it comes to finding whether it's video content or even if it's photos. Be very careful with Google. We've had lots of instances where new clients come to us and they tell us their nightmare stories about how they've received invoices from photographers and also large corporations such as gettyimages.com who have said, hey, you have photos on your website that belong to us, and so you now have to pay us for those photos. And it doesn't matter how big or small the client is. We've had, someone as small as a church of 50 people reach out to us and say, hey, we just got this invoice because the last person who did our website used photos off of Google. We thought Google was safe. And Google is not safe when it comes to using someone else's content. I recommend you stay far away from them. I also recommend that you stay away from stealing photos off Facebook, off Instagram, off Twitter. Those copyright violations are a bit different because they're harder to trace, but just stay away from them because at the end of the day, those materials belong to someone else. And if you're not crediting them for them or you have not received paid permission to be able to utilize their resources, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble. And what I will say is that these major corporations, especially Getty Images, they don't care how much money you have in the bank. They will come for their money. So stay away from those photos. Also, I also like to recommend that people, when necessary, use more video, especially now, with so many of us being locked down because of the coronavirus, we've become even more visual than we were before. So if you can convert any of your blog posts into video content, that's amazing. There's a website out there now that will allow you to create free video content called Wave, and it's W-A-V-E, Wave Video. Check it out. It allows you to literally turn your blog post into visual content. You don't have to be the best content creator. I enjoy making content, but I'm not the best video editor. But Wave Video has given me the opportunity to be able to create some pretty great visual content and essentially help me repurpose my content. So I've now been able to take my blog posts and convert them into video, which is really good. Something else when it comes to creating visual content for your website is that you want to make sure, especially if you're using WordPress, Squarespace, or Wix, you want to make sure you tag your videos and your photos. So for instance, if you have a video of Kobe Bryant, he's the first thing that came to my mind, of Kobe Bryant, then you want to go in to the back end of your website and tag that video and label it as video of Kobe Bryant. Do not save that video as just kobe.jpg or kobe.mp4. You want to make sure that you fully put Kobe Bryant in the meta tags and also whenever you save it. That is really important because so often when folks think about ranking for SEO, they don't think about the importance of ranking in video and also ranking in their images. And the only way you can rank for certain images and certain videos is if you make sure that you're tagging those things within your meta tags. All right, so written content. Written content is one thing that I love to talk about. I can literally talk about it all day long because I think, again, it's something that we as entrepreneurs often neglect. Now, I am certified in SEO, which is search engine optimization. I actually got my certification through Google, which is also available out there if any of you all are interested. It's a free resource that teaches you literally everything you need to know about SEO and how to improve the SEO on your website. So again, going back to my favorite thing, people saying like, I have this beautiful website or I have a website and people should be able to find me. Or they'll say, hey, I got traffic to my website. Like I see that people typed in www. I don't know, I'll use myself, like stephaniearcotto.com. Okay, that's great. But what studies have shown is that if people are typing in your website directly, they already know who you are. What you're trying to do with your website is you want people who do not know who you are to be able to identify who you are. So, for example, let's say you are a lawyer and you are in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. That means that you need to go and see what word or what keywords people are searching for as it relates to lawyers in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Now, an easy way for you to do this is to simply go to google.com. Again, Google is free. I believe in using free resources. You type in google.com and you type in lawyers in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. What you will begin to see as you type in lawyers in Chapel Hill is a list of suggestions. Those are called auto suggestions. Those auto suggestions are not just there for fun. They are there to help guide you to know what other keywords people are searching in relations to lawyers in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Now, let's say you're not a lawyer. Let's say you own a bakery in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Again, if you go to Google and you type in bakeries in Goldsboro, North Carolina, auto suggestion once again will tell you other things that people are searching in Goldsboro, North Carolina as it relates to bakeries. Perhaps it's the best bakery in Goldsboro, North Carolina, or it's how to cook the best loaf bread, whatever the case may be. Lots of questions generally come up in the auto suggestions. What you need to do is utilize that for whatever your business is. So whether you are a church, whether you are a barber, whether you are a lawyer, whether you are an auto repair person, whatever the case may be, search those keywords and see what auto suggest provides for you. Once you see what those words are that auto suggest provides for you, utilize that as your roadmap on the content that you need to create within your website. Now, when I tell people this, they get completely overwhelmed because they're just like, I'm not a writer. I don't know how to write a ton of content. And you have to learn. Either you have to learn or you need to be able to hire someone like Creative Allies to be able to come in and create content for you. But again, like we're here to provide free resources for you guys to be able to do things on your own, right? So one thing that I highly recommend is that you literally write down every single keyword that comes up in the auto suggestion. I mean, all of them. I mean, if there's 50 words that come up in that auto suggestion, write down all 50 words and utilize that to create blog content that answers those questions that you guys are receiving in your auto suggestion. So going back to my bakery example, if there is an auto suggestion that says how to make the best loaf bread, then that means that you need to have a blog post literally titled how to make the best loaf bread. And then you answer that question. It doesn't have to be super long. You could even give it 1 or 2 paragraphs. If you're a baker, you should know how to make the best loaf bread. The same thing if you're a hairstylist, perhaps is how do I do 2-strand twist? Well, if you know how to do 2-strand twist, literally title a blog post saying, how do I do 2-strand twist? And then answer that in your blog post. Or if you don't feel comfortable answering it in written format, record a video and then just post the video under whatever the question is that you're answering. This is the most effective SEO strategy I can provide you today that is 100% guaranteed to work. I know there are oftentimes when marketers will say, oh, well, I'm not sure if it'll work. No, if you literally create content around the questions that are being asked and you utilize the Google keyword research that is available to you for free, I can guarantee you will begin to see your website traffic increase within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And that is a guarantee. I put my life on that. I've done it for myself. I've done it for my businesses. I've done it for several other businesses across this country. And it continues to be a strategy that works. Again, most people get overwhelmed because they think, oh, blogging, once a day or 5 times a week, that's really overwhelming. So I say, of course, your limits as a business owner, right? So let's say hypothetically, if you only have, a couple of hours a week to work on your business or to work on your website, then hey, maybe you start off blogging once or twice a week and then you gradually get to 5 times a week. But the more you blog, the more effective your website will be and you will see a return on your investment. So I know it may be an inconvenience for the time being, but one thing that I do for myself is when I'm feeling super creative, I can just turn out blog content maybe for a whole month in like a couple of hours, because I know the end result is that I'll see an increase of traffic. And everyone knows as we see an increase in traffic, that also means that you have a higher opportunity of getting new clients on your website, and new clients on your website equal conversions, and conversions equal money, and everybody wants to make money at the end of the day for their businesses.